Last week, Dave Grohl told us that the Foo Fighters would be suing the Republican Party for playing their song My Hero, and that they would give the money to the Harris campaign. Can they really do that? So this is an interesting case. It gives us a chance to look at copyrights. Copyrights are complex, not complicated, maybe just a little bit, but still more complex than complicated. So we're going to look at this situation and see what are the realities behind everything that's being said and what's the truth. And it gives us a chance to look at it in two ways: in the real scenario and what might have happened. So I don't want to do politics. I'm not American. I don't have a right to vote in the U.S. elections, so I won't even give an opinion about that. It's none of my business, and I'm not here for that. I'm here for the music. It just happens that this is a political situation, so let's try and put that aspect aside for the moment and look at the copyright aspect of it. Now, in case you missed it, or in case you're watching this video 3 years down the road and you don't know what I'm talking about, last week RFK decided to pull out of the race to become president of the US, and he endorsed Donald Trump. The next day, there was a Republican event, and Donald Trump brought RFK on stage with him. Now, they were playing My Hero. They had these fireworks. It was really well done. I mean, I got to give that to whoever greened that up. That was really a good show. Now, after that, Dave Grohl said, "Hey, the Foo Fighters never authorized the Republican Party to use the song My Hero. You can't do that. We don't want the Republican Party to use our song." So let's look at it in a different light. First of all, it didn't happen, but could have happened. Let's imagine that they had a band on stage performing the song. This would then go to the song's copyright. Now, the song was written by Dave Grohl, Nate Mendel, and Pat Smears. Okay, so they are the writers. Okay, the song has been released to the public, so it is considered published. We'll have a whole episode on publishers because that's a whole different aspect that we need to look into separately. For the moment, just keep in mind that once a song is available publicly, it's deemed to be published. So whether you have a separate publisher, if you don't, then you are the publisher of the song. So in this case, if you want to do someone else's song, it's called a cover. Yeah, even if you're taking your band or just your guitar and you're going to an open mic night and you're playing someone else's song, that's a cover. Even if it's not recorded, it's a cover. Technically, you're supposed to get a license for this. Nobody does, but they should. You should be contacting the publisher ahead of time saying, "Look, I want to cover your song. Can I do this? Can I not?" At the very least, you should be looking at the publisher's website, because normally you can pretty much cover anything you want, and it's not a problem, because if people cover a song, then that means that the song will bring in money, copyrights, royalties to the songwriter and to the publisher. So normally it's just go ahead, cover whatever you want. But it's not always the case. Some songwriters don't want people covering their songs, or they'll put in a condition, a clause saying, "Record the song, send it to me, I'll listen to it. If I like it, you'll get permission to do it. If I don't like it, too bad." It's rare, but it does happen. There have been instances where it's Tuesday, the album's going out on Thursday, so the 100,000 copies have been manufactured. The title of the album is the title of that song. It's going out to the record stores, it's going out to the radio stations, and then the label get a cease and desist. Cease and desist is a legal document saying, stop doing this or I'm going to sue you. And they have to pull everything out, reproduce the album without the song and with a different song. It's a headache. You should always check that out before. So in this case, if it had been the band playing live and they hadn't checked and that there had been a clause like that, then yeah, they'd have a case for suing. They could say, no, you weren't allowed to do the song, period. If there was no clause, too bad. But in this case, we're looking at public broadcasting of the recorded version. So first thing, who owns that recording? It's not the Foo Fighters. Foo Fighters are on Capitol Records. Capitol Records own the master. The master today doesn't have much use. I mean, the name is pretty obsolete, but at the time when we were recording on tape, we would get these bundles of these huge tapes, and the final mixed version, mastered version, would go onto a final tape, and that would be the master, the one copy that everything would be duplicated from. That belongs to the person who paid for the recording of the album. So if you're at home recording your own album and releasing it, then you own the master, right? So no problem there. You are the producer of the album. Parenthesis here, in English there are two producers who do two totally different things. In French, and probably in just about any other language, they distinguish them. The guy who's behind the board, who's yelling at everybody, give me another take on the voice, change the sound on your guitar, give me some more reverb, that guy, we call him a réalisateur. Réalisateur is exactly the same term we use for in movies for a director. And that's actually what this guy does. But for some reason, back in the 50s or 60s, people called him a producer. I don't know the history behind that. If somebody does know, put it in the comments, let us all know. A producer is actually someone, you'll sometimes see the name of someone who should be called an executive producer in this case. First of all, the actual producer is the person who pays for everything. And then they have someone else going in, and they'll be making the calls to rent the studio, whatever musicians are needed, instruments, getting someone to do the artwork, getting the copies made, you know, the person, the monkey behind everything. Sorry, I just had an image there and I thought of someone in particular. And but the person who's going behind all who's behind the scenes and who's doing all this stuff. And that would be should be an executive producer, but we call him a producer anyways. But the actual producer is the person who pays for the album. In this case, it was Capitol Records. When you're on a major label, the label pays for the recording. Sometimes this is the same on an indie label, but not always. That has to be verified in your contract. But they own the master right until the day where you have paid it, okay, paid it back. They advance the money, they sell the album, and they pay themselves back. And when you get to the point where they've paid everything back, you become the owner of the master. But that never happens, because even if you sell 20 million copies, there's always going to be a little something that the label is paid for, and that remains unpaid, and they'll still always keep the master for themselves. It's just the way it is. So, public broadcasting. When you buy an album, Some people still do, I do. Now, you get a license with it. It's automatic, you don't have to apply for it. The fact of buying the album gives you a license for personal use. So this license says that you can play it for yourself. Maybe you can play it in your home. Technically, if you're playing for at a party, you have a party in your home, there's 25 people, you're playing it, technically that's public broadcasting and you're not really allowed to do that. Nobody's going to come after you for it, but technically you're not allowed to do it, and technically, legally, someone could come after you for that because you're not allowed to do it. The personal license also means that depending on which country you live in, like here in Canada, I'm not expected to pay more than once for this album. So I bought it once, I paid for it, say a vinyl, and I want to listen to it in my truck. I'm not expected to buy another copy to put in my truck just because the technology does not allow for the vinyl to be played in the truck. So I'm allowed to make a copy of it. I can't give it to you, I can't sell it. It's for my own personal use. I can also make a copy in case, because you know what happens with albums over time, they break, they scratch, you can't play them. So I'm not expected to have to buy another one. That's in Canada. If you go to the US, different matter, you are not allowed to make a copy of the album, no matter what the circumstances. This was important back in the days of, what was it called, when everybody was copying albums, and they were all putting CDs on their hard drives. That was important at that time. Now, when we go to public broadcasting, that means playing the album for a whole bunch of people, generally in a venue where money is involved. So, you do need a license. Absolutely. Absolutely, you have to get a license in all cases. How does it work? Licensing law, normally you should get a license beforehand. But what's the practicality of it? Imagine you're a DJ in a club, and night's going well, and then you get this guy comes up to you and says, "Hey dude, I got this girl, it's going really well, she's a huge Huey Lewis fan, could you play The Heart of Rock and Roll?" And you take out your list, and sorry, I don't have a license, I can't play that. Come back Saturday. Saturday I'll be able to get the license and play it. The guy's gonna look at you, dude. And Huey Lewis just happens to go by and he's heard the whole thing and he's gonna say, "Dude, play the damn song." And then somebody from the label go by, "Dude, play the damn song." It's money, right? So that's, yeah. So the way it works is the way it's supposed to work. It doesn't always work like that. In clubs, a lot of clubs, well, they don't pay. We get screwed for that. But it happens. So, but technically what's supposed to happen is either the DJ or the club owner, normally it's the club owner, is supposed to fill in a form saying, okay, this night, this day, between that time and that time, we played this song, here's a whole list, here's my contact information, and you send that off to the PRO, Professional Rights Organization. Every country has one. In Canada, SOCAN, in France it's SACEM. The US, of course, have two. It used to be worse, it used to be three, then two of them got together, so they have ASCAP and BMI. So if you're in the US doing this, you have to send a list to ASCAP and one to BMI, let them sort it out. Now once they get the list, okay, they have to look at it, they'll say, okay, you played 10 songs, 250 people, so you owe us $2 each, so send us $200. And then once they get the money, they redistribute it among the people who wrote the songs. Okay, and then there's the recording license, and that's something else, but I don't want to get too complicated for now. I want to try and keep it simple, okay? So no one is expected to get a broadcasting license ahead of time. It's always after. Always. So the Republican Party, all they had to do is pay the license. Will they pay it? Of course they will. Republicans, Democrats, Liberals, Tories, whatever party you want, nobody's going to screw over for a broadcasting license. It's not worth it. It's too much trouble. It would look too bad. Nobody's going to do that. And even if they didn't pay it, then the PRO would come after them to get the money. So it's just not going to happen. So could the Foo Fighters have really kept them from playing the song? No. There would have been only one possibility. That would have been to never release the song. But once a song is out there, if you self-produce an album, you put it out there, anyone can take your songs and play them live, and play them in some venue, whatever, as long as they pay the license after. That's the only thing. So there's no way that they could have kept them from playing it. So even these bands who are coming out and saying to the Republican Party, "We don't want you to use our songs," period. They're talking in the wind. There's nothing they can do. They can't keep them from playing them. End of story. They don't have a legal leg to stand on at all. At all. This is not like it's something new, something that's never happened. No, this is old law. There are precedents. It's been played in court time and time and time and time again. There is no way that they could sue and win. None. It would never even get to a court. No court would accept to hear it because it's well-established law. So then, why did they say that? Why did Grohl come out and say that? Why are other bands coming out and saying that? Either they're idiots and they have no idea how the law works, but considering Dave Grohl's career and the stuff he's done in the past, the guy's not an idiot, definitely not, and he knows how the law works. So this is just them trying to use their influence to tell people how to vote. That's all it is. They don't want to be associated. I can understand in the fact that since the general public don't know how this works, people might think that because the Republicans were using that song that the Foo Fighters had endorsed them. That's fine. That could be one explanation. Here's my take on it. It's very simple. To any politicians, any political party, political organizers, anywhere around the world, if you're campaigning and you want to use my songs, go right ahead. Just don't forget to pay the license. So I hope that clears up this situation, and we'll see you next time. Until then, peace and rock on.